Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 713. We talk about the wrap-up to the Gotham War.
From the sleepy suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, there are assembled the world's two greatest podcast hosts, created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Sean Whalen.
Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast. I'm a big fan of variant colors. My love for Batman is that stuff. Let's talk some comics.
And Jim Seguin.
How's it going, Nick? You know me and Superman. I'm really loving what they're doing. Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast.
Their mission, to discuss DC Comics in books, movies, and television several times a month in 1 to 3 hour episodes. And to serve all mankind.
Outstanding!
Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim, the sensei of the whatnot, Seguin.
How's it going, Ed?
Jim, we are back and excited to talk about the finale of the Gotham War. We are sponsored as always by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Jim, what is going on over at DCBService.com?
Okay, we're finishing up the pre-orders for October, so you still got a chance to get Absolute Superman by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank hardcover, 40% off, only $90. Plus, I like to do a general just search on a superhero's name every so often to see what they have, because this pulls up current stuff and in-stock stuff that they have. And when I did a Superman search, I saw two really cool statues. The DC Pantheon of Justice, the Prince of Krypton statue for Superman, 10% off, only $148.49. Fleischer-inspired Superman rescues Lois Lane statue, 20%, only $100. So thank you, DCBS.
Those Fleischer cartoons were absolutely outstanding. And to this day, they still hold up. If you're listening to this and you've never seen those before, go after them. And that statue, I hate you. Over at InStockTrades.com, they have the Super Sons Super Duper Edition Omnibus hardcover. $125 regularly, 50% off, only $62.50. This is great material. If you miss this in any capacity or don't have it collected, this is the way to grab it. I'm a huge Omnibus fan, so please jump on that. I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Jim, I'd be remiss. We put a little bit of a delay between our last recording and this one. Do you want to give us any updates real quick on your dad?
Well, Dad's doing better. You know, he is now home, so he's back in my house. And, you know, it's one of those things where we take it day by day, and he gets a little bit stronger every day. And, you know, he's moving around the house a little bit better, and we're working on actually getting him back into his regular bed and actually developing more of a regular routine where he's able to, you know, sit at the dinner table and actually eat, you know, dinner instead of eating in his adjustable chairs that he's got to use and this and that. So short answer, it's a long road, but he's doing better. The week he's been at my house, I've seen an improvement on him already. And his spirit is so much better because he's home. You know, he hated being in the hospital. He hated all that stuff, but he knew he needed to be there to get better. And so, and to all the people who reach out, thank you. Really do appreciate it. I know, Sean, you're always messaging, hey, how's Dad doing? How's Dad doing? You know, and I always let Dad know when people are looking, and he appreciates it. So thank you all for all thoughts and prayers and best wishes. You know, we're going to make it through this. Yeah, all will be well.
I 100% believe that myself. But one of the things I want to say for our listening audience out there, please check RagingBullets.com for updates on the show. Jim and I are trying to get back to a normal schedule, but obviously the needs of his family are going to be what drives when we're recording next. I will always post on RagingBullets.com kind of an update on where we're at with some tentatives. We're trying to get back weekly, and I think we're going to record, like we've got plans for our next recording for next week. Obviously the needs of Jim's family are going to make decisions for the next time, you know, short time period until everything gets kind of stabilized on that end. But Jim, without further ado on that note, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plot lines, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on today's show. So if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Let's talk some comics.
Nice work, Atom. What are these characters up to?
Our next discussion is Batman Catwoman, the Gotham War Red Hood, issue number 2. It's written by Matthew Rosenberg, art by Nicola Cizmesija, colors by Rex Locus, letters by Troy Pateri, editor is Ben Abernathy, the covers by Carmine D. and Domenico, variant cover by Dustin Wynn, 125 variant cover by Riley Rossmo, Batman created by Bob Kane with Bill Finger, and apologies on the name butchering on that one.
So this has been, I mean, we've got to kind of talk globally about the crossover in general. This has been an interesting crossover because, you know, sometimes from a crossover you just get a really good story, and yeah, it moves the needle a little bit, and you really enjoy the fact that it had a great beginning, middle, and ending, and it felt like an epic movie and that kind of thing. But there's not a lot of change spinning out of it. This is, woof. Talk about like shaking up the whole entire world. And what I loved about it is it looked to me like it was doing one thing, and it is to a certain extent, and that's in shattering the family. But in particular, I thought it was going to shatter completely the relationship between Bruce and Selina. It's changed and moved things, but it hasn't shattered it, I don't think. So there's but Jason and Bruce, woo, we really have to talk about this one because he's done some nasty stuff to Jason. And what I really liked about this issue is it focused on a time progression with Jason. Showed him before, during, and after what Bruce has done to him, which it's such a violation. This is an example of where you get why Bruce did what he did, but Bruce is wrong. And Zur is wrong.
Yeah, this is all Zur.
Yeah.
This is not Bruce doing
this.
In my head, I take it that Zur is more in control of Bruce than Bruce is now.
But Zur is not the only entity. So here's the piece. I'm going to agree with you to a certain extent, but we can't leave Bruce blameless in this because right. Bruce is still there.
Yes.
So I agree with you that Zur is in the driver's seat, but Bruce is he's definitely the co-pilot in the passenger seat.
Yes.
He is not like in the trunk, so to speak.
He's not one of those where he's watching everything in horror going, I can't do anything to stop this. Mm-hmm. He could have stopped it. But, you know, he's being controlled and manipulated by Zur. And he's being manipulated in the way that he thinks this is a good idea. And part of him does think it's a good idea. You know, it's not all Zur thinking this is the right thing, the right course of action for Jason.
Right.
And in a weird way, the way he's justifying it is I'm giving Jason a normal life. But he's not giving Jason a normal life. He's giving Jason a horrific life where if his adrenaline spikes, he becomes extremely afraid and can't do anything. And you know what? In normal life, adrenaline spikes.
Yes.
You know? Just, you know, you don't live a life without having adrenaline spikes. You know, I'm with me dealing with my dad. If I was frozen in fear anytime something extreme was happening, I'd be useless. Mm-hmm. You know, it's the fact that I'm able to keep calm, keep this, and move through it that lets me help my dad. You know, so he's. On one hand, you say, "Oh, he's trying to help him." No, he's not. He's not doing any good for him. And one of the things I loved, in the Red Hood stories, but also in Catwoman and Batman, just the Selina seeing, "Oh God, Bruce, what did you do?" And like those that one great moment in I think it was in the recent Batman issues where he's just sitting on the rooftop, basically crumbling. His mask is down, and he was just in tears, and then basically Zur kind of kicks in, and Bruce kicks in, and to push the emotion aside, kicks in, and he puts the mask back on, and he's back to Batman mode. But I love just that sequence between him and Selina before everything kicked in, where he was just letting out the raw emotional dump, and I thought that was absolutely brilliant.
One of the things that I've really enjoyed about this story is its exploration of Jason's training methods and what he's really trying to do. He has some very personal feelings about who some of these thugs have worked for. He is trying to basically show them that this life isn't for them, and do the terror intervention of, get out of this. And if they can make it through, setting them up so they're in a position that they can take just about anything, including there's been times where he set them up for a major beatdown and walked away.
One rule is can't throw a punch.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And, and if they keep coming back, it reminded me of some of the things you see about, like, some of the tougher years of, like, Stu Hart's Dungeon and wrestling and that type of thing, where, like, they would beat up people just to, see, like, hey. Then they'd come back on Monday and it's like, oh, this one may be able to make it. And, that's kind of it's kind of an interesting sort of story to see that, there's few people that can make the muster off of that. Oh, good.
Well, also, you saw the movie Fight Club.
Mm-hmm.
When Tyler Durden starts building his little army cult, whatever you want to call them, just those kind of moments when he's just beating them down physically, mentally, and emotionally. And do they survive? Do they stick around? If they do, then they're in. The old school military, the stuff that we all see in movies, and with the hard sergeant major who's the drill sergeant who beats on the people and smacks them around. Current military does not do anything remotely like that. They physically break you down, but it's not. It's more of through PT, it's through exhaustion, it's mental challenges, that kind of stuff. But this old school beating them down, physically beat them down, and then you see if they survive, and you can build them and make them stronger. It is a tried and true method that a lot of people have used to great success, and it was kind of funny seeing him do that, especially because I'm initially thinking, okay, that's what he's doing, and then you start realizing he's targeting Joker people. This is his personal vendetta. Part of the reason of him siding with Catwoman wasn't just to, because he believed Catwoman was right. Part of it was to go after the Joker. Part of it was for his personal vengeance. And then I loved how this story ties into the Joker story, the Joker who stopped laughing story. And I'm like, oh my God, this is absolutely brilliant. And again, another neat twist on a side story where the main focus is going to be Batman, Catwoman, the destruction of the family, what happens to Bruce, the rise of Zur-En-Ah, whatever you want to call it. Oh no, there's a nice little side story about Jason Todd and the Joker. That story's not done yet. Joker killed him. He still owes him a death. And I love just how this plays out, especially with the whammy that Bruce did to him. It really was like, holy crud, this is outstanding.
Now, that drive that Catwoman has that says in case of emergency, I know I'm jumping to something that we're going to talk about in the next issue, but I have to ask the question, will that reconnect him? She gave him a jump drive.
Yes, I think that puts Bruce back in the network.
Because she put down in case of an emergency. So that has to be a Catwoman, like giving him a way back in, right?
Yes, I read it 100% that way. That he's currently out of the Bat Network. He's locked out. That's his way back in. Catwoman was able to steal the Bat Network. Now, maybe Bruce gave Catwoman the way back in, thinking if he ever went too far.
She didn't. Here's the thing. She didn't need him to give that. This is Catwoman. She stole that.
Probably.
Wait, that's not me disputing you, like providing another option. Sure, they care about each other enough that they're going to do that. Then Catwoman, you didn't need to. Like, here's the thing. Even if he tried doing what you're saying, she would have been like, dude, I already got it.
Yeah, he would have said, here, I want you to help in case. Oh, no, I already got that.
Do you want me to give you a copy? But I think where it works is, and I know I'm jumping a little bit to Scorched Earth, and we may be able to we may need to just do that organically through this conversation. But one of the things that I really, really liked about that was we had at that point a justification from Bruce as far as why he I should be out of the network now. They need to move along. Barbara and Dick now are the parents here. The parents that Selena and I couldn't be. And hopefully they'll guide a lot of them out of this life, onto like a future that I couldn't guide them out of because, the mission's mine and it's got to be my solo mission. So he's basically choosing to keep that way. He's not looking to meet with them to reconnect, to rebuild the Bat family as it was. He's looking to build again independently. So him having that, he sees no reason to reconnect. The other piece, too, is I like storyline-wise, Zur wouldn't want him reconnecting right now either.
Right.
The disconnect actually is good for what's going on with Zur. It makes sense storyline-wise with where this is going. I love this run. And what I love about this run is, first of all, they're playing nice with a lot of creative. Because, this Chip Zdarsky's one of them. But you've got the Catwoman writer. You've got the writer of this, Matthew Rosenberg. You've got, just got like really good talent that's involved in this crossover that are moving forward this Bat universe and weaving in and out of each other. So to your point, there's stories shooting off of this. There's a Catwoman arc that's going to be going on. She's doing her own thing. We got Bruce going on and doing his whole Zur story that's going to be next. And we've got Jason's story that's going to be taken care of in a one-shot issue after this. I love the fact that we're playing in a sandbox here. And people can jump in to a story like this and do some really cool things. I'm hoping Rose makes an appearance in that one shot because I really liked the use of Rose Wilson in this. I don't, like her and Jason's relationship is something that it's not something I immediately go to, but they have had so much great history together. I loved her playing in this storyline.
Yes. Because
she's one of my favorite characters. And I feel like I miss seeing her like with consistency. And when you see her in situations like this, she is so perfect. Like her bringing up that whole Red Hood note.
Yeah.
And everything was, I thought, just awesome.
Well, and these two together, I like them together. This is one of those that, it's kind of neat, in variations of the universe. They've had these two together. They've had these two partnering up, becoming more than partners or just associates, because both of them aren't very popular with the people they hang out with. Mm-mm. Both of them have their issues of dealing with others. The fact that they can trust each other, and they've got each other's back is a really cool dynamic. You think back to Bruce and Selina's relationship is different than Barbara and Dick's relationship, which is different than, the Rose and Jason's. Each of the members of the Bat family, they've got this confidant, and the relationship, the connection, is a little bit different than everybody else's. And I think that is a kind of a neat aspect to it.
Yeah, it's one of those pieces that Rose's continuity has been one of those that continuity hasn't been kind to her.
Right.
I think she's a great character. You and I have loved her since the beginning. What's happened, though, they've done reboots. Like New 52 rebooted her, and it was different than what came before. At the core, it was Rose, but it was different enough that, like, okay, what's going on with her now? We've revamped her again. And it seems like she's had a couple of revamps along the way. She almost has the Green Arrow problem in the past. Remember we had that stretch in Green Arrow with New 52? No. I think Rose has had a similar problem as a character. Where I'm going with this, it's not gloom and doom. I'm going to a different spot. I feel like now we've got a sweet spot for the character. Like there is an understanding by creative on who she is and what to do with her. So when she makes an appearance, it's like this. Like, it moves it forward. She's cool. It's Rose. Oh, yeah, I love Ravager. And I really feel like I have an understanding of who she is again. Whereas, for a while there, she did have the Green Arrow problem. And it's weird to say that there was a Green Arrow problem, but there was. It was good, really good stories where every time a new creative team came on, they seemed to really revamp the character so much so that it was hard to look at that timeline as having a strong continuity between creative runs that went along. Because I think they kept trying to, like, stir up interest in the book. And sometimes what happens is along the way, you'll lose the interest of people that are following along because we're having an identity crisis for the character, for lack of a better way to put it.
Yeah.
I think Rose had an identity crisis for a while.
Oh, big time.
This dawn of DC, if it's one thing that's doing really, really well, it's building off of what was happening with, some of the later revamps of DC. And it's really getting back to the core of who these characters are. This story, I really liked how we had 24 hours later, 48 hours later,
Yeah.
49 hours later, and we're being brought up to speed. You don't have to give us panel by panel every little detail of what happened. But what we're seeing is some panels that are showing things like Rose going, Jason, where are you? Because he's going through this mess. Seeing what he went through 52 hours later when he woke up from this panel here. Now, when you have heightened adrenaline, when you're about to do something dangerous, your fear kicks in. I'm sorry, Jason, but it's the only way. I love that in his own way, he proved Bruce wrong.
Yes. Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, to be able to sit there, my respect level for Jason, I always love the character. I think Jason's just a very complicated character. At times you want to smack him upside the head. Other times you're like, he's kind of right. I love the fact that one of the things that's strong about Jason is he does not quit. He never quits. Even when he's gotten it wrong, there's something to be said for being able to pick yourself up and to be able to come back and get on the scene. He was in this book, in this particular story arc. Some people do him dirty.
Yes.
Bruce does him dirty. Scandal does him dirty. Scandal comes to him and is like, listen, you don't have to worry about Batman and all that. You can come with us now. When she realizes what Bruce did to him, she's kind of like, oh, I need a soldier. It's like, there's no offer to help him. Because really, between Scandal Savage and Vandal Savage, I'm pretty sure if they put some time into it, they could have helped Jason. It's like, dude, we're out.
Peace out. Good luck.
He was done dirty by a lot of people in this. Catwoman's the only one's got like some compassion, like in the sense that she's defending him to Bruce.
Well, Dick Grayson also had some like when he found out. Remember, I think it was 138, Batman 138 or something. When Nightwing shuts him out of the thing, he found out what Bruce did, and that sent him over the edge. And I thought that was a real cool moment. He had Jason's back, but Jason basically took off. And, the future of Jason Todd, if he can trust Nightwing and Oracle, we may get Jason back. But I don't know if he's going to or what's going to happen there. It's one of those neat kind of things where what happens to Jason next? And I loved how this thing played it out brilliantly, where they, again, through multiple issues, through multiple titles, they're showing us different sides of the story. And then, like in this one, as you said, those panels, 48 hours, 59, 51, 52 hours later, and just how they kept doing that, I was like, oh, this is absolutely brilliant. I love how they're doing this. And again, really laying down the network of what's going to happen next to him. What's the big mysteries? Even though this is the end of the Gotham War story, it's not the end of Jason Todd's story. It's not the end of Batman's. It's not the end of Catwoman's story. It is the beginning of the Bat family story. It's who knows what's going to happen next with these different characters. I'm very excited to read more Bat books and read all the associated Bat books. But
the villains as well. One of the things we've talked a lot about is the heroes in this, and I'm nodding with everything that you're saying. I do want to throw in there very strong though. In different configurations. We got things with the three Jokers that are going on here. We've got Solomon Grundy and his thing going on here. But then we've got this core group of Bat villains who had their henchmen, basically taken away from them. And some of the argument that Bruce and Damian were making came to fruition.
Yeah.
Like, the funny part with the ideologies in this, they're all getting some things right. And they're all getting some things wrong in what they're trying to do here. Like Catwoman, her idea on paper was working. The problem is there's always somebody who can step up and take advantage of what you're doing. And that's what happened here. Set of players stepped in and took over the game that she was crafting there. And manipulated it to their own intent, putting these thugs back into the place that they were in before. You also had exactly what Bruce was worried about. You can only slap these other villains in the face so long before they're going to band together, and now they're going to come after you, and they're doing it under Vandal Savage. Yep. It's like, oh my gosh. Then what happens when Vandal's no longer there? you've made these guys generals on a level, like, you don't need to make Two-Face any more dangerous, right? We know that there's a brilliance to him that's in there. Now you've put him together with Black Mask, you've put him together with Ventriloquist. There's reasons for Calendar Man, all these people to be together, Firefly, and basically say, listen, we either take control now or we're losing it for good. There is money to be had there. There is lifestyle to be had there. There is power to be had there, and all of that can be lost. They know that they are on this thread that can be cut at any point in time if they don't do something now. They're putting strengthening and turning that thread into a chain. And I love that aspect of this story where, wow, talk about shaking up status quo. This absolutely is shaking up status quo. And that's when you get a powerful story. This is going to be one that we're going to remember after this storyline as the one that, remember when that story really shook things up and we got a year of great tales afterwards? That's what's happening with this. We're going to get at least a year of great stories out of this. That, and I say at least a year because, this will all spiral into who knows what. But that's one of the great things is when you see the potential out of this of what, I want to know about this, and I want to know about this, and I want to know about that, and how he's going to deal with this. And that's what this thing's giving you. And it's because of the fact that we didn't just deal with the heroes. You made me care about the villains and where they're at.
Oh, God, yeah. And again, it was funny when they first introduced Vandal Savage into this. I was like, "What?
Yep.
What's going on here? Vandal Savage? Where'd that come from?" And then when you find out that Marquis is really Scandal Savage, like, "Oh, that is awesome!" And then, the thing I love is where I was looking at it on the surface level. Okay, Vandal Savage. Okay, did not think any deeper than that, and that's where the story went. The story took it to another level that I wasn't thinking of. And that's something I love when after all the years we've been reading, after all the years we've been talking about this stuff, a writer can come along and surprise you and say, you're thinking column A, I gave you column B. Surprise. And you're like, oh, that is cool. So that's one of the things about this. As you said, this is the beginning of a new era for the villains, for the heroes.
Yeah.
And who knows beyond that? Right now we're just looking at these people, these characters. There's going to be other people that are going to get affected by this. You think about who's not in the pitch, who's really not in the picture, who could very easily start getting back in the picture. Jim Gordon. This could be a beginning of a return of Jim Gordon. Because again, Gotham needs people. Gotham needs help. And Gordon could be one of those people who comes back, or Gordon could be one of the people who helps Bruce back. Because again, this would have been a role that Alfred would have played, but Alfred's not around anymore. I'm thinking we're going to see a return of Jim Gordon out of this, just because Gotham needs Gordon now. And what role he'll play, what part he'll play in this, I don't know. But I would be 100% would not be surprised if these story arcs somehow lead to a return of Gordon into the mix.
I like it better the way you're saying it now. Will lead to that. I don't want it to jump. Lead it there. I think events, you're right. Events are setting the stage for a lot of change and a need for people to be involved. The scope and scale of this shows a lot of opportunity for people. I'm very, very anxious to see where that goes. And yes, I would love to see him back. And what this looks like. What it's going to take to get Bruce to where we need Bruce to be is going to be very, very interesting. Because he is going through this storyline, this thing with Zur, with Damian being his backup. Yes. And my reasoning for saying that is, there's going to be things that Zur likes or Zur wants that on the surface, I think Damian would agree with. So it's going to be interesting to see if Damian's going to notice that it's not Bruce, or if Damian's going to think that his father's just evolving in a really good way, if I'm making any sense there.
No, and I agree. But here's the thing. I also don't think Zur doesn't want Damian around at all. Zur doesn't want anybody around Bruce but Zur.
Yeah.
So At the end, again, we're jumping, but at the end of Scorched Earth, when Bruce takes off, he leaves Damian behind.
Oh,
There's
yeah, good
only
point.
Bruce.
Good point.
Damian's not around. Damian is not in Bruce's life at the end of this. At the end of this overall story arc.
I wonder how that plays off into the Batman and Robin book.
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to, because I just want to know time wise, how that's working out with relation to this. This is interesting. I wonder if the next arc takes place before that book or during that book, or a lot of answers will come.
Yeah. And I think that's something we're just going to have to hang back and wait and see what happens. Because, again, I really do trust these creative teams. I'm trusting the editorial staff on the Bat books, that they're getting this, where they're linking in everything so we can see where this is taking place. There's multiple editorial notes going on. They're doing a great job with keeping us in perspective where it goes. Even like this is answered in issue 12 of the Joker Who Stopped Laughing. This is, continue on in Scorched Earth. This was seen in Catwoman 58 or in Batman 168, I think, or 3 or something, and again, I was like, I really like how they're doing that. So I'm confident that, when Batman and Robin catches up to this story arc, when Zur is played in there, we're going to see how that plays out. And, maybe Damian will be the piece that brings Bruce back, which, again, I would not mind that at all, because I love Damian, and Damian dealing with Zur, recognizing that that's not his father. I don't know who you are or what you've done with my father, but you are not him. That kind of stance from Damian. That I think would be a really cool battle, because it would be a battle of mind, of intellect, of just willpower, not just a physical fight. Who can bring back Bruce? Again, there's so many different things they could do with this story. There's so many things they could do with the Bat family out of this that I'm loving the possible future.
Yeah, that's some of this is just such strong, emotional, character-driven writing. Jason, I'm looking at the sequence right now in this book where Jason was bursting into the going into the fire, for the kid that was in there, and he's holding the kid, saying, "It's okay to be scared. I'm scared, kid, too." And Scarecrow shows up on the scene. Joker shows up on the scene. And I love that the Joker's kind of like, no, this is my plaything. Get away from him. This dynamic is so Gotham villain. And it's something where you say to yourself, well, did this really need to be a separate 2-issue miniseries? Yes, it did. For these moments alone, what we got out of Jason on this one, like if you passed on this one, do yourself a favor and pick it up, because there's some really, really cool stuff that's here that just, to me, just stands up. What happened between the Scarecrow and the Joker and that battle? I mean, the Scarecrow injected the Joker. And the Joker's like, nothing scares me, but maybe I don't know you so well either, Doc. And I love that he turns this back around on the Scarecrow. It was so great.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, and again, this is some brilliant Joker moments that I so loved seeing this fight sequence, seeing how this played out. Brilliant story, brilliant physical action, and then it sets it up even more to continuing in the Joker series. That, maybe you're not a big Joker reader. This right here is going to help bring you to that story, because, I know I'm behind on that series. I'm big time behind. I think I'm only on issue 5 of it. So as soon as I read that, I'll tell you right now, I was like, okay, time to get up to date on the Joker. I got to see what's going on there. I loved how, again, this interconnection, this one giant universe that we're getting out of this. I'm so excited and thrilled for the future.
So let's talk a little bit about Scorched Earth, if we could, because I know we've already started dabbling into Scorched Earth, but let's really delve into how this whole series wraps up, because it's a big, big story, and it needed an issue like this to totally wrap up. When it says the shocking conclusion, boy, it really did have some shocking moments. So this one was written by Tini Howard and Chip Zdarsky. Pencils by Mike Hawthorne with Nicola. It's Cizmesija. Inks by Mark Morales, Wade Von Grabadger, and Nicola Cizmesija. Colors by Arif Prianto. Lettering by Clayton Cowles. Editors Ben Abernethy. Cover by Jorge Jimenez. Variant cover by Adam Hughes, Kendrick, Kunkka Lim. The 125 variant cover by Salvador Larraca and Ivan Plasencia. 150 variant cover by Simone Bianchi. 1/100th variant cover by Jorge Jimenez. Foil variant cover by Kendrick, Kunkka Lim. Batman created by Bob Kane with Bill Finger. Apologies for any name butchery because I love the fact that this story had so many different variants and so many different ways of approaching it, because we are now in a sequence of events. This kicks off very early on with a lot of what we're seeing with some highlight moments, in particular for Tim Drake. I really loved the handling of Tim Drake in this issue, with him showcasing why he had to live up to a standard that he believed in with Dick Grayson. He's like, I want to be the second best Robin. I would make a strong argument that Tim Drake was like, I need to be a better... Because he looked up so highly to Dick Grayson, he made himself, in many ways, into a better Robin. Dick Grayson's a better Nightwing. Whereas Tim Drake, I mean, he came in and was taking down all of the bat tech that was being used against them. He was directing traffic and telling everyone how to take down all of these systems because he became an expert of them. This is an example of great writing, great understanding of the difference between characters. Dick brings a heart to everybody that he's the big brother that everybody wants and needs to follow because they know who he is. There's comfort in following him. There's strength in following him. In many ways, he is the heart and soul of this group, and you totally get that piece. Tim brings a very different sort of expertise to the table that nobody else can match. Sometimes this coolness factor of Tim Drake gets lost. This story nailed everything that I've always loved about Tim Drake. I just thought this was a brilliant handling of him.
Oh, God, yeah. And as you're talking, I'm just nodding my head saying, this is why I love Tim so much. Yep. This is why I love him. And why, for the longest time, I always said he is the heir apparent to the Bat. Mm-hmm. You know, that was until Damian came in. And then I'm like, okay, I got to give it to Damian because I love the little monster. But Tim, you know, and again, I wanted him to get another name other than Robin, have his own identity, because he's such a great hero. But I love how every time I say that, every time I start thinking that, he gives me a reason why, no, he's a Robin. And he's okay being a Robin. This is who he is. This is his mantra. Now I'm of the mindset where Damian needs another title and Tim Drake should have carry the mantle of Robin. Because, again, for me, Tim Drake is the best Robin. I know there's a lot of Dick Grayson fans out there who will get angry with me at that statement, but Dick Grayson is a wonderful, brilliant Nightwing, and I want him to be a Nightwing. I want Tim Drake to stay as Robin. That, as his calling, as his name, as his identity, because he is just so brilliant at the role. And as an adult, I want him to be an adult Robin. You know, and just continue on, with how he would be as Robin, as the main character, not as the Batman support team. And he's no longer a Batman support team. I don't want anyone thinking I'm saying that, but I want him to really own the title of Robin and have that be not seen as Batman and Robin, but seen as Robin. It's Robin's time kind of thing. And really we saw in this why he can stand up, why he can do that. And, even in previous issues when he was fighting Bruce saying, I took on this mantle because you had lost your way. Batman needs a Robin. I'm here again trying to do the same thing. But again, Bruce was too far in the influence. Yep. Wouldn't listen to him. Right here, we see what he can do. And I love this. And this, again, it was a really cool moment, that opening sequence when you see the villains with all the bat tech on them. Because at first, I remember thinking when I was first reading it, going, wait, why are they wearing that? I'm like, oh, yeah, Vandal had access to everything, gave him, oh, that is cool. And then, you see Pig with the Venom, with, going through. You've got Black Mask with the other Batman, armor and guns and whatnot. It was absolutely brilliant usage of combining. Again, we talked earlier about these villains have stepped up their game. Well, this is going to be a continuation of the step up and what happens in Gotham. I love these stories, love these parts.
Yeah, and that's something that was really important. The character-driven moments with Jason, too, were really, really strong in this piece, because it framed up some very real conversations with Bruce and Selina. One of the things I loved is that Selina wasn't out on Bruce. She was talking to Bruce. She was working with Bruce. She was not condoning anything that Bruce did, but that's love, right? When you're sitting there and saying, okay, this flawed man has done this really stupid thing right now. I can walk from him at this moment, or I can tell him the things that nobody else is going to be able to. And she does. And I was like sitting here like, whoa. It's where, as a couple, they're very, very deep. I just thought the writing was really, really strong in this piece. And that part really, really stood out for me. The other piece that Catwoman's dealing with right now is she built these people, became connected to these thugs, and thought she was building some form of loyalty. She wasn't. And in the end, seeing them kind of, disappointing, the fact that she gets this idea from them, but you trained them too well, Selina. Most have given us the slip. And she's like, that's actually a good idea. She's starting to plan her own exit strategy.
Yep.
And it's really interesting where this story's going. She's recognizing this has all turned sour and people have taken advantage of it. She's looking to make things right, or, at least, put an exclamation point on the current events, because the problem has happened at this point in time. The whole plan with the meteorite and everything is... I'm so shocked.
Yeah.
At where this is all going. Go ahead.
One of the things I loved about, again, everything you're saying, I'm nodding my head along with you, and you get those, Selina with Bruce, and again, she never once says, "Oh, this was a good idea." She's like, "What did you do?" And then recognized he needs my support. And again, she's there for him, helping him through this, kind of helping him make the right decisions, gives him the calm, so he's back connected to them. And you get that great moment from Bruce saying, hey, he says he messed up without saying he messed up. Basically, he's saying, we need a peace, we need to stop this. And I love how he goes through, he's like, I don't expect you to trust me, but I trust you. Go save Tim, go save your brother, I'll stop Vandal Savage. And I love just that moment right there, because again, it further adds to, with what Jason's going through, his anger towards Bruce. Yeah, go on, save another one of your sons. Just that whole play out there. But also, it does bring the Team Bat family under Nightwing and Oracle. They're calling the shots. They're directing the team. They're the ones who are. It's under them that we're seeing the takedown of the villains. We're seeing the passing of the torch in this. And it was a really cool moment in there. And I was absolutely just, again, it's one of those things you get lost in the moment. You're like, this is awesome. This is a great Bat story of the next evolution of the family. And then you get into the Selina stuff with her and her thieves. I love how the one thief is like, I'm just going to stick with what Selina taught me. I'm going to make some money. I'm not dealing with anybody. I'm my own boss. So he takes the lessons that Selina taught them and continues on with it. And that guy who later on comes up with some big surprises, and I was thrilled on, again, you get some of the people who get caught up into the Vandal Savage story, what they're going back to some of the other old villains. They're going back to their old ways of being a henchman again. And you get some like this guy who, no, he's going to travel his own path. And I liked seeing just the growth of these characters. Even these small supporting casts who would normally be henchman number one, they now have names. They now have, parts of what they're doing. And I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, and this is awesome. Is exactly right. The Batcave, like my heart shatters when I see the Batcave has been like ransacked, the pennies knocked over, but also the clock and the clock being turned. And I love that Bruce notices the tiny details, like the time and those pieces, and it helps him to start putting together clues. I love the detective. And even in this scenario, we're seeing the detective kind of put these pieces together. His outreach to the family, like Oracle and things like that, I love that he's sitting here saying he almost apologizes.
Yeah.
And at the very least, he's acknowledging the fact that I know we're on different pages, but as a family, we need to work together right now and resolve this. And his love and respect for the family is something that I really loved in this, because even though he's divorcing himself for it, from the family, you know, as far as saying, I need to exit myself, I'm not the right person for this, he does care deeply about them and feels like his exit strategy is only for the good of them.
Big time.
I loved the costumes of the villains.
Yeah.
You know, like, I love that Black Mask is dressed up as the Flashpoint Batman. I love Scarface and his dress up. I mean, some of that stuff was the Batman cosplay that was going on was pretty cool as they were coming down the street. This idea of, now, this story's ending with a new kind of Lazarus pit. It's still in existence, right?
Yes.
Does this open the doorway for a Ra's al Ghul return?
Yes, big time. Because the Lazarus pits haven't had the same effect as Ra's al Ghul. Mm-hmm. And this meteorite has a different effect than it was before. So who knows what this Lazarus pit will do to people. Yeah. You know, because you think back to it, you know, jumping ahead, when the big giant meteorite fragment does land on the planet, Ra's al Ghul, Vandal Savage goes and touches it, and like, this power is all different, you know, and he gets fried, you know. And then that turns into some Lazarus pit that the government and that Waller are in charge of. So what's going to happen there? I don't know. You know, nothing good. But this is going to change some stuff for Ra's al Ghul. This is going to change, again, stuff for Gotham, the Gotham heroes who are going to start investigating this new pit that's underneath there. That's right now on government lockdown, but that's not going to stop them very long. You know, there's so many different things that can, you know, play out of this.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the part that I really, really enjoyed. I loved the cat and the bat and the bat and the cat. You know, how they were like trading that back and forth. You see how instantly these two are such a strong couple, even though they're so different and so unique. It's what separates them from Lois and Clark, right? It's like, why do we need Batman and Catwoman together? I don't know what their future is going to bring. And I hope it brings something good for the two of them. I loved some of Batman's better relationships over the years, including Talia and things like that. But boy, where they have evolved Catwoman, I hope there's an opportunity to continue to grow them as a couple, whatever quirky way it looks like with these two, because I really enjoyed the character development of them with this. This wasn't just mass destruction of a relationship. It was evolution. And I'm going to be glued to watching what happens with both of them as individuals, hopeful that at some point in time we see them come back together again, because they're heading down interesting paths. Oh,
big time. And one of the things I loved with these meteor fragments, how, again, I don't know about you, but when I was reading, they're putting the pieces together, he would do something and he would use those pieces. I never once thought he was making a giant homing beacon for some giant meteorite out in space. That never even remotely entered my brain. And again, to see that kind of story going, oh, that is so awesome. Again, it layered, you know, you've got the Bat family, you got Bruce and Selina, you know, trying to break it down. And then it does give us that moment for Jason Todd redemption. Or not even redemption, just Jason Todd to prove Bruce wrong that, no, I am a hero. I can work through your, you know, what you did for me, what you did to me. I can work through that. And it does give you hope that we're going to get Jason back.
Yeah, yeah. And that's something that I found really, really strong in this. The other part that I really enjoyed at the end was this epilogue. Like, I didn't need anything else at this point. Now we got one of the thugs broke into Bruce's place and knows he's Batman.
Yeah. Well, that's that same Teddy.
Right, exactly.
That's the same guy. And I'm like,
no,
yeah,
I know.
I loved it.
Yeah. And it was something I thought I didn't need anything else in this story because, oh my gosh, they've given us so much to like, but now we've got this layer on top of it. And that's knowledge that we all know comes with its own share of, woo.
Yeah.
This was a really, really strong event. Jim, is there anything in it that we haven't covered that you wanted to talk about?
I don't know. It's one of the, it's again, there's so many, like, I love the sequence when after Jason flies the plane into the giant meteorite. Making it look like he's going to sacrifice himself, but in reality, then a couple panels later, you see him parachuting in. You know, little attention to detail and stuff like that. You know, and then even afterwards, when he's there to comfort Bruce at the death of Catwoman, and I did air quotes around death because it looked like she died, but obviously she doesn't because we later see her later on. But the question is that with me, you look at that sequence where we do see Catwoman. We only see her in the shadows. We don't actually physically see her, you know? He's like, Cat, Bat. And she has that flash drive with case of emergency. You know, did she get changed? You know, because she got exposed to whatever the new Lazarus pit is or the new meteor fragment is when it exploded like that. Did she get mutated? Did she get changed? Because, you know, that sequence, she's in the shadows. I'm like, I 100% what happened there, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
I know. And again, I'm not expecting an answer. I'm like, that's one of the things about this story that I love. Because think about it. At the end of the story, we got a great beginning, middle, and end. So we got a complete 100% full story, but it laid the groundwork for the future of Nightwing and Oracle as the parents of the Bat family. Expanding on the Bat family, what's going to mean to Damian with Bruce not around, what's going on with Selina now, you know, what's going on with Bruce on his own, you know, plus it laid on the groundwork for all these different villains. Where are they going to go? This story, you know, did brilliantly lay down the groundwork for the next couple years of future Bat stories, just by tying into the different characters and seeing how the different stuff we added into it. Oh yeah, on top of that, we've got a street. One of Catwoman's people now knows that Bruce is Batman. Let's add to that whole part of it as well. Where does that go with it? You know, there's so many different things that they can play out on this. Plus, you've got Vandal Savage, who still does own the Wayne Manor. You know, the Batcave is completely destroyed. I'm assuming, you know, Nightwing's going to go in and seal off the entrance. You know, so whoever gets the Wayne Manor won't be able to re-enter into the Batcave again. You know, and, you know, the Batcave, I'm assuming, right now is no more. You know, right. Completely no more. So there's so many different things that this one story arc is going on. You know, you think back to some of the great Batman stories, No Man's Land. What was the one where, I'm trying to blank on the name of it.
Cataclysm?
Yeah, thank you. You know, how they really laid out and changed Gotham, changed the layout, changed the Bat story for multiple years to come to where the point where we're still accessing events from that in the current day. This is another one of those stories.
Yeah.
The Gotham War is going to be one of those stories 10 years from now. In Bat stories, there's going to be connections to this. I think that's one of the brilliance of this story.
This is the importance of giving creative runs on things. They have a chance to build something, you know, and they know that they're going to have multiple arcs and and time to be able to breathe and do that. It's really an important thing that comics deliver. And it's really becoming more and more unique to comics, right? Because even television shifting away from like 22 episode seasons and long form storytelling, we're now getting these shorter stints of this. Comics now are going to be our unique vehicle to be able to get longer form storytelling. You know, I hate to say, I like fill-in issues and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Where you get those stories. It's getting monthly delivery of this kind of content is something that it's going to be unique to this medium. And it's something we need to protect as fans because I like a lot of different storytelling. You know, like I said, I'm a gamer. I like RPGs. I like film. You know, if you've listened to Is It Jaws, for those of you out there that have, it's not a cheap plug. It's, you know, I love film the same way that I love comics. And it's fun to talk through different genres of film and things like that. But what I appreciate is diverse storytelling, taking advantage of the medium and being able to do things that you can only do in one medium. This is an example of a story, the scope and scale of it. You can't replicate this. You can't. I mean, there's not a way to replicate the scope and scale of this on television. I think the closest that has happened with a longer form version of this is really what Marvel did in its first, like, everything up to Infinity War, right? I think what they managed to accomplish there is... it's going to be very, very hard to replicate that on the screen of any sort, television or film. I think the DC did it with the Arrowverse and what they did with those CW programs. I think that is a unique. We can live and say that we were around when those shows were airing in real time. That's an era that is not going to happen again. Not the way that it did, because I don't think you're going to get the day of that many 22 episode series that you can interlink. I don't think we're going to see that again. Not that way. We've lived through some unique storytelling in the past decade that I don't know. I don't know that we're going to be able to replicate it. It's hard to put together those kind of plans and have them pay off because it's very, very costly. Comics, on the other hand, have the ability to be able to do that on the regular. Yeah. And when you've got the great creative talent that's doing this is where this medium succeeds. I didn't know what to expect from this storyline. Other than I trusted the creative, I did not think we were getting this. And when I say this, where you're leaving me with so much at the end that I'm questioning, to your point, there's a couple people that fell in the Lazarus pit. What happened to them? You know, what happened to Catwoman? Where did she really go? Did she plan all along for that to for that one of many exit strategies that were going to be there? Did she actually fall into the pit, or did it just look like she fell into the pit? Whereas Vandal went through a whole different problem, and it solves a lot. Vandal dropping off the scene solves a lot of problems. The problem's going to be with Wayne Manor now. It's a disaster. Wayne Manor is a disaster, and Bruce needs to do some troubleshooting there too, because you got that clock turned there right now. You got an open gateway to the Batcave, revealing his secrets.
Yes, even though Vandal's already picked it clean, the fact that it's there is going to be a problem. Yeah.
So there's some interesting trouble coming the way, or, you know, Bruce can solve some of that quickly. But, wow, really, really great story. Anything else?
No.
We are Crystal Men from Mercury. We have no quarrel with you.
I would like to let people know that we're on Spotify now. I thought we were before. What we do is we do our podcast through something called Liberated Syndication. That's our hosting service. And you can check like a whole bunch of services to be a part of it. Well, apparently there was a whole thing I needed to do with Spotify that I didn't know. So for those of you that enjoy listening to us, or would like to enjoy listening to us on Spotify, we should be available there for you now. So if there's a service that you are a part of that you would like to see our show and you're not seeing us, please do not hesitate to shoot me a message and let me know. I really appreciated the notification that, like, hey, I want to see you on Spotify and I'm not seeing you there. So thank you so much for that as our listening audience, just letting us know. I really appreciate the friendship and saying, hey, I think, you know, people would like to catch you here and I'm not seeing your podcast here. We want to be wherever you want us to be. So if we're not somewhere you're looking for us, just give me a shout and I will do anything I can to get us in that place, because I want this to be convenient for people. The idea, this is supposed to be fun. So we want it to be fun for all of you. RagingBullets.com is our show website. That's where you're going to find out details on podcast episode updates, things like that. RagingBullets@gmail.com is our email address. 1-440-388-4434 or drnorge on Skype is our voicemail if you want to call in and be a part of the show. And shout out anything going on in the comics or the comic industry that you'd like to have a part of the podcast. We love having you part of our show. The About Us section of our show website is where you can find out how to connect with us on gaming platforms and social media, and we update that regularly, so be sure to check that out periodically. I put in the show notes actually when it was last updated, so you know if something new is there that you may want to connect with us on. And again, on that, if you want to connect with us on something, let us know what you want to connect with us on. We're always glad to be somewhere that we're not in order to connect with all of you. Our Facebook group is something I rely on. And boy, in the past couple of weeks, just to kind of keep up with DC news and what's going on there, just to keep up with things that we may want to talk about on the show in the future, I rely heavily on the great people there. It is an awesome supplement to the show, but it's so much more than that. The people that are there are hosting a really cool resource. And I just want to thank everyone who posts over there for keeping that to be such a fun community and a great way to find out information on DC. If you haven't joined, please consider to pop over there. I always post the episodes there as they're going in, and all of our news is always posted there as well. And the link to that Facebook group is in our show notes. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Jim, what's going on over at DCBService.com?
We have Absolute Superman by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. Hardcover, 40% off, only $90. And we have those really two cool statues. DC Pantheon of Justice, Prince of Krypton statue, 10% off, $149. And the Flesher-inspired Superman Rescues Lois Lane statue, 20%, only $100. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, they have Super Sons Omnibus, the Super Duper Edition hardcover. This is a $125 book that it's 50% off, only $62.50. I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. I've used them for years. I actually want to shout out, because both companies are connected. It's the same company. And one of the things I also want to shout out is the way that they do shipping. My gosh, I'm pretty sure you could throw the box against the wall and everything inside it would still be fine with the way that they meticulously care for these comics and statues and every other support piece that's in there. In the years that, my gosh, we've been podcasting for going on 18 years now, and we've used DCBS, I think, for every one of them. If not, it's been certainly close. I've had 1 or 2 packages with an issue, and they respond immediately. They take care of it immediately, and the customer service is fantastic. I mean, in that many years, to be able to say only when you're shipping and you're dealing with all the variables that come from getting it from point A to point B, I can say that's a miracle. So I just figured I'd shout that piece out too. If you haven't done mail order before, these are just great people who really have got a good system in place for making sure that your stuff gets to you the way that you expect it. So I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com once again for everything they do for us as fans. And they support a lot of podcasts, so please consider supporting them. Our next episode, Jim and I are going to be back, and we're going to be talking about some of these JSA spin-offs. The ones that highlight the Flash, the ones that highlight the Green Lantern, and of course the one that highlights the Sandman. So we will see you next week.
Bye!
All right, you guys. Are you ready to sing your song?
I'd say we are. Yeah, let's sing it now.
Okay, this should be fun. Now get ready for your cue. Okay, Sean?
Okay.
Okay, Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Raging Bullets time is here. We talk about what we hold dear. Comic books and TV shows. Superheroes and their clothes. Justice League and so much more. I just love Green Lantern Corps. We talk about the books
Okay, fellas, get ready. That was very good, Sean.
Naturally.
Jim, you're a little flat there, so be careful. Jim.
Okay. Justice League and so much more. I still love Green Lantern Corps. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show.
Excellent job, guys.
Let's sing it again. Yeah, let's sing it again.
No, that's enough. Let's not push it.
Push it. What is that? Yeah, what are you talking about?
No, I didn't mean anything by that.
I think we did it right there.
Jim,
I don't know.
how long do you want the song to go?
Look, it's our production.